Hello, it is February here in Phoenix, and I did a video back in January on how to do hard cutbacks, and that is when I like to hard cut back my roses here in the desert. I just wanted to give you kind of a tour of the garden and how it looks after you cut everything back, show you how they're doing, what they look like, and kind of some of the chores I like to do here in winter, just to give you an idea of what I do and maybe what you would like to also do in winter for your roses. So here is the side rose garden. You can tell it's a little plain. Obviously I cut back my roses. So like this guy, you can see even though I cut him back, he has put on a lot of new shoots, a lot of new growth. So come, springtime, I expect this guy to be doing really well. This is my heirloom rose that I got and I planted this fall. I did a video on how to plant a container rose or a potted rose, and this is the one I planted. Now since this one I just planted in fall, I did not do a hard cutback. I left it as is. It's too young probably to be cutting it back, but it's looking pretty good. It was blooming and you can see it's putting on more growth, so it should start blooming again here with the warmer weather. So here's one. I did obviously a hard cutback on this, like a week or two ago, mid-January, and it looks good. I'm happy. It's got new growth on it. So this is my drift rose, and you can see I did not do a hard cutback on this. So what I did was I pruned this in fall, and really here in Phoenix the hardest time on the rose is not winter. The hardest time on the rose is in summer. So I like to cut the summer growth off, and so I gave this guy a really nice trim in the summertime. And because of the nature of this rose, that it's more of a rambling ground cover rose, I don't really do the hard cutbacks on these, just because it still looks good and it is putting on new blooms. You can see it had that big cluster of blooms. So I refrained from cutting this. I still like the shape, so I may not even really cut this for winter and just let it roll into spring and continue to grow. So this one's the David Austin rose. It was brand new last year. It's not even a year old yet, so it really hasn't bloomed yet, but it is putting on a lot of really good growth. And this is the same. You can see it's got new shoots. Here's another new growth. So it's doing really well. It hasn't bloomed yet, and this is kind of the same as that drift rose. This is kind of like a rambling type growth. So I did a pretty good cut back in the fall to get the summer junk off, and I've just let it grow all through winter, and it should be growing, or it should be blooming here in spring. You can see it does have a bud here, so it is getting ready to bloom. So no, I did not do a hard cutback on these, on my vines here in Phoenix. Okay, and these back here, these are my more established vines. I've had these like 3 or 4 years. So it's the same thing. I gave these a nice prune back in fall, and they take a bit longer since they have such long rambling canes. They take a bit longer to get their new growth on. So they're just now really putting on their flush of blooms. So again, I did not do a hard cut back on these. I'll just let these grow out into the spring. I may trim them up a little bit for the summer, clean them up. Next season is probably when I'll do the majority of the cleanup on these vines. But they look really good. I'm happy. I'm really happy with these ones. Nice and big, very pretty, pink. And this one is, I think it's Pearly Gates, so I don't remember if it's either Eden or Pearly Gates, and I'm thinking it's Pearly Gates. But yes, very pretty. This was one of the last ones that I did, so it doesn't have as, the growth isn't as much as some of the other ones, but it is putting on new eyes, new shoots back here, so it will be ready to bloom here in springtime. So this over here, these are the ones, this one is the one I did hard cut back on camera, same thing with that one. This one is one of the heirloom roses I planted in fall, so I did not do anything to it since it's so young. So you can see it is still blooming, very pretty. Looks good. It's been liking all the sun it's been getting over here. And then this one's the first one I cut back, so it's got the most growth off of it. And this guy is looking really good. This is the one that I planted on camera, how to plant a bare root rose. Tons of new growth. I'm excited to see it bloom for the first time in my yard. So another chore besides cutting the roses back in winter that I like to do is to put mulch, brand new mulch around everything. So most of these, like I said, have new growth coming out of them already, since it's been, 2 to 4 weeks since I pruned everything. So the new growth, we want it to start off nice and strong, so we do want to start feeding these guys a little bit. So I do need to finish getting these the mulch down. That way they get a little bit of fertilizer when they take off growing.